by the legislature?
Appointed by the president or monarch, whatever we choose, and approved by the legislature.
Sure. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. I'm totally cool with that.
So
I
then,
just-
what you? Yeah.
Is
Let me pull up my proposal. Yeah. Keep.
a lot of the names I'm not like set in stone with yet. I think that we
Yeah.
have a lot of flexibility of what we can do, especially like we don't know what civ we're gonna have yet. Maybe Norway, but like we could totally name everything after whatever civ we're gonna pick. Or so I'm just like I'm just using these names for now. These are not names I'm particularly married to.
I think you're just sort of. And what they start doing is they start jumping to an American system, which really, the game in general is moving away from a base of that. Yeah, sorry, it's British internet. The European Union is selling us less Wi-Fi.
6 weeks.
All right, how am I now? Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Yeah. I like to think myself fairly well versed in IRL bicameral legislatures, but
we're talking bicameral legislature.
Yeah.
You're a little quiet, Wes.
I've yet to see like a benefit of having a second branch. Like, what exactly does it bring to the table that we don't already get with?
Do you read mine?
The meeting chat, isn't it?
Open the meeting chat, please. Yeah, I was about to link it, but the convention meeting chat is still closed right now for us. Rabble. Right. I also sent you one that was sort of similar to what we had talked about. Did I send you both of them? It did. I'll grab it. I got it. I haven't worked very hard on this the one with the veto and the unicameral legislature. I've been sort of touching up my version of it that I'm a little bit more
I think
But there it is.
what you're looking at is it's highly unlikely that if you implement a system where the executive has a veto like it had last Mark, you're going to get it ratified.
Excuse me?
I don't think people want it. The polls show, and just the general discontentment show from last Mark, that I don't think if you do that, I think we could be very well be back here after you propose it, and then it just gets rejected.
I think that's it's possible, but I think without the executive veto, the executive has no checks on the legislature. And especially if now people are saying like we should publicly elect justices without the executive in it. So then
That's
the
only
executive, a couple of people are saying it, and it's like
yeah.
a point. If both of those went through, the executive would have no checks on the other branches, and like preserving the checks and balances seems like something basic we should be doing.
No, I disagree with you fundamentally there. As in,
Well, I think we're just gonna disagree then.
yeah, as in, there's much better ways in which you can get the executive to be able to implement a power that isn't so forced as a veto.
I think the real issue is the culture behind it. I think I mentioned this last time. If the legislature is just passing a bill that does one thing, for example, build a boat, name this, do a thing with it, which happened. That's not really the type of legislation we should be striving for.
Why not?
We should be striving for legislation that lays groundwork for the legislature to do things. So, for example, the legislature can require the ministry to build a boat and can assign it a purpose when it's doing that. I would much prefer something like that than just like a one-time do this thing.
I think
that's the reason I really vetoed it at the time.
I think that we need to, in my opinion, we need to choose whether or not we're going to have a bicameral legislature, because if we have a unicameral legislature, I am more okay with a president or a ministry having veto power, because it's just passing one chamber. But if we have a bicameral legislature, I honestly don't see the need for veto, and I'd actually argue very much against a veto in a bicameral system, because
yes, but I still don't understand the benefits beyond that of a bicameral legislature. Like legislatures already complain that they don't have a lot of effect on the game, and now you're splitting it in half again.
As a big proponent of bicameral, I think one of the reasons people want bicameral is because it removes power from the executive. I don't think we've seen any bicameral system in which the executive has as much power as it had in the Mark IV system.
And have you checked?
Because it was constantly vetoed.
It would be vetoed, yeah.
No, it was not done. Like there was small things that were vetoed, yes, but there was never large scale like culture grab things.
Culture was certainly an aspect, I'd say.
Culture was like given up by like literally the ministry itself passed the referendum to do the first policy thing. Like from the start, we were all like, we're doing it.
That's 14. It says name.
Do we have the results from the most recent poll that was sort of biggest poll on the bike that had bicameral versus unicameral in it?
Which poll was that? Where are the results? Can you link the results in mention meeting?
Already voted. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean. I think the issue with taking this is you just asked unicameral bicameral. You didn't provide any text to what you would compare that to. Because I think, honestly, looking at the systems we've had so far, I think the result would be pretty different if it was deep for this bicameral system or this unicameral system. And we actually laid it out. And I said that last time, but we still did it in this poll. That like we should have actual proposals. Yeah, it's just like it's continuously like non-consistent. Like,
well, what I think we should do is we should just write a bicameral system. We should write something sort of with sort of in the working draft. Put a section of the working draft that's bicameral, and then in the next poll, rather than saying unicameral versus bicameral, say, do you like the working draft's unicameral system or the working draft's bicameral system more?
yeah, so like what I just said.
Yeah.
Also, have you taken a look at the one that I posted about 24 hours ago?
I just did, and
It's very much like the governor system we were talking about last time, except
yeah, I
more
definitely see that.
expansive. It basically, they have the exact powers that the governor has. The senators have, like, for their own states, they control the production, the management of the cities and whatnot. Also, as a group, as a whole, have the ability to pass laws related to the states and draw state lines and whatnot. And they even though they can't introduce sort of catch-all legislation, they the Congress gets sent to them, and any bill they make, other than their sort of orders for the president, would be like the sort of general guideline legislation would also be sent to the Congress for approval. So it's kind of like a bicameral system, but very much the second branch is unique, has its specific powers delegated to it, very much like the governor system that we had before, but entrenched in the legislature as sort of a deliberative body, very much attached to the game and attached to the states.
So basically, the Senate in this system would just be the governors, but it would be the governors, but they also can like. Oh, one second.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I think that's a good compromise between. Yes. They're elected in the same way. They're.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I would also say
We can talk about numbers, but I'm just proposing the basic idea. We can talk about that.
At the start of the game, this branch would have 3 people in it, and they would have. They vote with the legislature, so. So at the start of the game. Yeah. Well, he's doing troops and anything they haven't really.
Diplomacy and clicking the buttons.
Which isn't too bad. That's basically what he did in Mark III. And President Mark III wasn't like, I didn't feel deprived of power, at least. Miss Cinco, I don't know about how you felt being president.
I think the president is perfectly fine if it controls units. We always say that, we want the president. I feel like there's a sort of a tendency to want to pile on responsibilities and powers into something that seems important, but I really think that diplomacy and managing units and it is its own gargantuan task in itself.
Also, just running a session in itself is influence and power during that session.
Exactly.
That's definitely a plus. However, with this system, this is basically, I think a few times we've talked like a council of governors as the second branch, which this is basically that. I don't think I am, because first of all, at the start of the game and for quite a while, there's going to be 3 people, less than the ministry, that have a veto on legislation.
Do you want to bump it up to 5?
You see, I don't think
5 is too much to run one city. Like I just don't feel the necessity there. Well, for the start, it's going to be one city. For the start, it's going to be one city and the capital.
Haldir, I think, has something to say.
Yeah. You see, I don't think giving the upper chamber, which would be the Senate in your case, a veto power is right. I think we should give them, as I said, right of review, so they can only amend bills. So they have to basically say, we don't like this, but we would accept it if you change this. Yeah. So rather than just saying no, we refuse.
That is effectively a veto. You have to realize they can just be like, we don't like this unless you do none of this. Like,
well, if you look at systems where if you look at, for instance, the House of Lords in England, it works. The system is balanced exactly so that the Lords really do have to give constructive feedback and criticism for what they would accept, and then they know that if the Commons has the sort of the ultimate say anyway, so the Commons can, after a while, sort of ping pong back and forth, and most of the Lords will accept it. So I think we have to be aiming towards a system where
then we're having 2 unequal branches in the Congress.
Yes.
So hold on,
like even less point. Also, this isn't creating more. Yeah. By the way, it was said before that the second Congress creates more roles. This does not, because it's doubling as governors.
Yeah. And also about that, but to touch on Haldir's point,
I'm concerned about the numbers now and later. Like it doesn't seem, definitely the 2 people per state seems wrong, considering they could very easily be from different parties.
To touch on your point, Haldir, though, I definitely agree there's something to be said about the constructive nature versus the destructive nature of a review versus a veto, even though functionally they work similarly.
Yeah.
I think the main point is, I don't know if this is sufficient for you, but at least in the draft that I have so far, it makes it so that they simply, it's just like it just gets handed to them once it passes the Congress, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they amend it and whatnot, I'd say that kind of counts as different legislation, so they'd have to hand it back to the other Congress to check it again. Yeah. I don't know. It would be more like a back and forth of we want these sorts of features for the legislation. They could pass it intermittently.
Yeah. I see.
Rather than them just saying no.
I think the other thing that's important to have is that the upper chamber cannot propose laws, because what you then get is you get this massive clouding of bills. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
An alternative to the veto.
But the thing is, what you're saying is that you're basically just creating a ministry out of the governors, and then you're forcing them to be more constructive with a veto. That's I don't know how you're going to do that in the Constitution itself, first of all. That's just, I mean, I would sort of kind of agree with you if we did the Senate thing.
Can I just make a point of clarification real quick? Can
I
I
don't
make a
really
quick
see your
point of
point there.
clarification about what we were just talking about? Well, it doesn't have legislative power except with regard to the state. So it can write laws, but they have to be like regulating rules for states and residency and all that kind of stuff. So
What
there would
exactly
be
do you
very
mean by
niche.
Because
I mean, there are plenty of things like maybe they establish some sort of regulations for, how all senators have to agree on different types of production. Maybe it's like I don't know. I have no idea, but like it would be stuff that relates specifically to in game
is it just
and
states and residency? Like it's not
states
like
residency and managing
how you
cities
spend
and
this money.
managing units. No, because money
It
is
says
independent.
yeah, it says pertaining to general regulation of states and residency, the creation, dissolution, and realignment of states. So I get the second part, states and residency. Does that mean you regulate where you can move and stuff, for example?
I have an idea.
Not if it's contrary to the Constitution,
Of
but
course.
like
But,
yeah, sort of
would that be the
sort of
same thing
rules
too?
and stuff like more
But
specifying things.
they wouldn't be like you can't they wouldn't be able to like control trade routes between cities or something like that. There.
They would be able to. I mean, technically now they'd be able to. The senators
Through
themselves would
the
be able to
states and
control.
residency regulation type thing. They wouldn't do that kind of thing. They wouldn't have an actual in-game effect with their legislation. It's just no. I want to understand. Yeah, I want to understand what exactly the Senate can do with this. Like what they can do with their own legislation, because it doesn't seem like a lot. It seems like a very very small amount of thing. So they're really just again a governor ministry that
I mean,
has
aligning states,
a
but
weird veto.
I I think that these are just. I don't have anything in mind right now, but they're just sort of general terms, just in case things come up that aren't clear in the Constitution with regard to states and residency.
Yeah, I
We have a
understand.
body that can deal with that. That isn't like the Congress. I mean, I've just
This
figured as long as these people are the representatives of the states in general, they should have the say in what. And also, they draw the state lines, right? They can do that.
yeah. But my issue with this is it doesn't exactly give them anything. Like it's such a small thing. Why is this a second branch of government? This is just governors with a veto. Is really what I'm trying to say. This is governors with a veto.
Yeah. What you can do is, rather than saying governors make up the upper house, what you do is you make the upper house elected some other way, either state. What I personally like the idea of, it's unrealistic, but is that the monarch appoints the upper house, which is what you used to have in Britain. So, but then you give the upper house significantly less power.
Yeah.
And then you remove the monarch's veto. So basically the monarch or the president doesn't have a veto, but he gets to appoint the upper house.
I'm definitely not a fan of the monarch crap, but like a president doing that wouldn't make much sense either. I think then also it ends up being one party, and that's just ridiculous. Like I hope you understand what I was about. The ministry was always with the veto. You always knew you were at least getting 3/5 of the people, because like the ministry A was never controlled by one party.
But the monarchy would never be controlled by one party, because we've never had in the past in Mark IV, which I'm basing this off the presumption that we'll have a diverse party system. You're never going to have one party have enough support to choose the monarch, so they're always going to have to make a deal to give other parties positions.
Would the monarch be able? Would they be able to impeach the monarch?
Theoretically, yeah, of course.
Going back just a second.
Because
People think
really, that
that
brings
there
me to,
is.
that makes me think of. Sorry, 1 second. That makes me think of Hod with the president system. He's basically that president then appoints the cabinet. It doesn't kind of cruddy, because
So two points going back to the comment about it feels like that this sort of state regulation law power is weak. A lot of terms in here, and if you look at the if you look at the states in residency, there's a lot of like specified under the law, and a lot of things that are just sort of vague. So I do think there's a lot of room to do it, but also if you look at
it's room for a niche thing.
yeah, but it's supposed to be niche. That's sort of the point. And this is also very similar to what Germany has with the Bundesrat. There's the Bundestag, which is the large sort of proportional Congress type branch that does everything and appoints the chancellor. But then there's also the Bundesrat, which is like representatives from the various German states deal with laws that are specific to the states, and they have sort of a veto power over the
but
the
is it
Bundesrat.
specific to like how states form and it's
just anything related to the
trying to adopt a real world government system, like it will never 1-to-1 correlate into democracy.
Of course
because
not.
we're
Of course
so
not.
different and we have so many different needs. Like
Created
and
this,
also trying to use the fact that it exists in real life as like an argument for it has
sure.
no points.
I'm just giving an example, but did the states and residency system, right? It's gonna be something that's not necessarily new, but still this is something sort of new that it's like a feature. Right. I think it's important that just go to, hey, let's just give this to the legislature to deal with whenever problems come up. I think that it would be cool to have like a second branch that specifically deals with this system. Don't have the legislature have to worry, like the Congress have to worry about it. Give it to these senators who are sort of the pseudo governors, and they can, as a body, collectively decide how states and residency work.
I think
disagree, but that's
I think you kind of just summed it up. It's like, cool, you get to do this one thing, but it's not much. It's not a selling point for this spot. Again, we're not making new spots or new seats in government. I still don't see a necessity for this. He's like, sure, okay,
right.
Now the states get to pick what states look like.
I honestly think you just don't like where it is and the name of it. You'd prefer it to be an executive, right?
No, I think it's just governors with a veto, which seems weird if we're trying to get rid of a veto. And just saying like, oh no, they have to give constructive feedback. That's not really, unless we're completely gutting it, in which case it's pointless. Well, I'm talking about Haldir. Like if it's just a constructive if it's just like constructive feedback, then it's kind of
right. I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
One, how big do you expect? How many states do you expect there to be? Because I was thinking perhaps max like 5 is probably the biggest we'll grow to.
Yeah. Well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So take it. So moving from there, what you can do is you can do something that Britain has. So you can create an upper chamber where the governors, one governor per state, automatically go into the upper chamber, but then you get other people added to the chamber as well. So it can scale. So say,
who are these other people?
Are they just appointed? What happens in Britain is you can get appointed by the Prime Minister.
Honestly, I don't care what happens in Britain. I want to know what the system would look like.
Just give me an example right now.
Yeah. So it's pretty weird. So all the bishops of the Church of England get to go to the House of Lords. You can get appointed by the Prime Minister, or you can have it inherited. But that's beside the point. So we can think of another way where perhaps states can elect another representative into the upper chamber, so that the upper chamber is made up of sort of a collection of people. So the governors have some say, but they don't have like the whole say. They're part of it, but they're not all of it.
Wes is just sort of more concerned with the powers, right? You're more
Yeah,
concerned
because
with
like
the fact that
if you're saying like, okay, the speaker of the legislature can put things in, can they just fill it up? Can they just dilute power? Because I'm really thinking balancing power between not only the branches but now two legislatures. Like it,
Right.
and if we're
I
gonna
think
have something where balancing the power doesn't matter because it's like barely anything, then why do we have it?
I feel. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think you're concerned with like the fact that why are we having basically just a council of governors, right?
Why are we complicating and like making this so weird with with the second legislature when it's
feel like it's a
just doing the
complication.
same thing everyone apparently hates? Yeah. Yeah. So if I'm a newcomer and I say, why do we have this second branch? What is your answer, Masinko and Haldir? Why do we have the second branch?
For
Well,
several reasons. Okay, you can go first.
No, you can go first, Masenko. You defended with the governors being in that second branch because I acknowledge it's an idea, but I've never been a massive fan of it. Go on, you go, Masenko.
Okay. My point is that we don't want a veto, right? Toxicity. I'm not a huge fan. I prefer it gone. I think a lot of people would prefer it gone, like Haldir said. And I think that having a second branch bonus on it's very similar to what a veto is, but it's more constructive than destructive. It gives sort of it gives the executives that were executives before, they entrench them into the legislative branch. They have similar powers to they had before, but now formally they are legislators. And this is also consistent with the idea of trying to put more power into the legislature with regard to the game specifically, and sort of encouraging a behavior within the legislature that we want to make laws less about meta related stuff, less about procedural stuff, and more about the game. And I think having a bicameral legislature really encourages that. It's more in spirit than it is practice. It's very similar to before, and I think that the reason it's so similar before is because I've been trying to compromise on these ideas. So that's why I think it's necessary. I think just the spirit of it is more consistent with the attitude we're trying to get, and I also think it's a healthier form of legislative review.
So I'm going to say the question one more time. I'm a newcomer, and I'm asking why do we have?
The Senate regulates and represents the states. The Congress represents the population.
Okay. Don't the states represent the population?
No, the states are where the population lives. Right. So sure, but hold on.
So yeah. Also now,
Residents may, through democratic means, establish local governments and appoint, dismiss, or regulate senators within their respective states, subject to reasonable regulation.
A state with 40 people and a state with 4 people have the same representation in the Senate.
I'm not talking numbers. I said I'm very flexible on numbers. I just put that as a placeholder. We can talk about numbers.
So then I'm just saying it would have to be scaling.
I'm trying. You're attacking the idea of numbers rather than the argument that I just made. I'm fine with changing the numbers. The representation is for me, like, I'm just not very good at electoral systems and trying to figure out like good proportionality. But the spirit of the idea is more important to me. So I'm cool with going and tweaking the numbers and stuff. I just put in a placeholder. Right.
Yeah. How would this scale down? Because 1 in 7 people in government does sound pretty high. Like, eight and 12. Wait, for scaling down, 5 and 9.
I have about 5 minutes before I have to leave, unfortunately. I guess I've already, you guys have my draft. If you guys want to mess with the proportionality, I'm totally fine with that system that you just proposed. My main concern is have an efficient way of keeping track of population and population movement.
I've been thinking. I've come up with an idea where we can get a minimum, a minimum of 17 people to run the government in totality. That you would be bicameral plus governors. Governors not being part of the bicameral, governors being another separate branch, plus a president and a deputy president or prime minister, whatever we want to call it. So how it would work is you get 5 justices, so they're just eliminated off onto one side. Then you can you get one house which is elected nationally, and one which is elected locally. But the local representatives are basically they're just local representatives rather than national. So you treat everybody basically gets represented by 2 houses, one for most specific local needs and one for the national need overall. Then you can get a president and his deputy, which would be in my head it's the prime minister, and then you get the governors, which double up as ministers. So you'll be a governor of a state, but then you'll also be sort of a minister of something. So you might be like governor of Rome, no, governor of like Naples, but also minister of finance.
What you just said is like pretty much the system that we've been talking about. I feel like that's a little too many roles, which is why I collapsed the governors and the second branch.
Well, if you're going with 3 judges, I can drop to 14 as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
Mhm.
think the president should have a vote in the upper chamber? Is what you're saying, as like a governor? Right. Okay. Right. Yeah, capital senators.
You see, I think Wes has made it awfully clear to us that having governors as the upper chamber is not a good idea.
Having
As in-
governors as the upper chamber is just ministry.
It blurs the lines, and it's
And it
effectively
seems like it's against what you guys want because
yeah.
it's still the
You have convinced
executive
me of that.
having a veto.
You have
Like,
convinced me of that, Wes.
yeah,
So
it's the same thing.
yeah,
So 10% of the population would just be doing reviewing the bills. Is that well, okay. We've already discussed. I don't really think that's a lot. That's very, very little stuff they're doing there. 10% would be just reviewing bills.
Oh, like, I mean, I made my argument, but
Yeah, that's fair. But just 10% of the population is only reviewing. Yeah, which
oh,
yeah, I think so. If we're taking away the veto,
I gotta
which
go.
I
So I'll see you guys later.
see what's
right.
I gotta go. Yeah.
So if you're doing a bicameral, or if you're taking away the veto, sorry, I recognize that as a view. I think something needs to replace it because we've all seen shitty legislative bills try and pass, and they've passed the legislature. Because often the legislature gets complacent, and that's a whole other issue.
Well, what you
But
could
we've
do
seen that
is
happen.
rather than giving the government giving the government a veto, so the executive a veto, what you can do is you can manipulate the system so that it's basically the government has to try and take the initiative. So the government proposes a spending bill, it proposes a military bill, how much it wants to grow its military. The government proposes a basic structure to the legislature. The legislature then approves what it wants, and anything that the government hasn't proposed for, the legislature can then legislate themselves, or the legislature can say, no, we don't like what the government has proposed. We would like it to be different like this. So rather than having a veto, you have the government bringing the ideas and the legislature reviewing it, and anything the government hasn't brought, the legislature then sort of writes bills for. Because
So
then you don't have a
the
veto.
the example you used there was something like military spending.
Yeah, like
Military spending bills in general, they don't do anything. At least not in Civ 5. It might be different in Civ 6, but from what I can tell, it won't be. Like you don't pick how much you spend on your military. You pick how many units you have.
Well, no, because
And
the legislature could just simply say your military expense cannot be greater than 20 gold per turn, or something like that.
that, like, doesn't it literally vary? Like, you can't control it.
You can. Units have upkeep.
No, but like the upkeep changes. Like
Yeah.
it goes up. Yeah.
Yeah. So then the
You're
government should be keeping track of that.
Yeah, that's kind of stupid. I don't know, but I mean that's legislature. I think what I was gonna try and say is either we can have a stronger judicial review, or a judicial review that does more crap. But the issue with having just judicial review is it only works on unconstitutional things, and not everything's unconstitutional. Not everything that's bad is unconstitutional. So I think, especially in a bare-bones constitution, so I think we could have something like, if both the governors and the president and the vice president and whoever we have in the final executive, if they vote that no, this is very bad, we need to hold this. Not necessarily they need to vote for it to pass. Like, basically, what I'm trying to say is the legislature votes, they pass a bill, it's law now. But the executive can be like, whoa, slow down, stop.
Well,
look at this.
What you actually had is
like that.
The start of the American Constitution, the American vetoes legislation that the executive branch interprets as unconstitutional. So we could do it like that, where either we have an upper chamber made up of a few people, 3 to 5 or so, that reviews legislation on its constitutionality, its adherence to legislative procedure, or if it contradicts other bills, if it's reasonable for the executive to be able to implement it, and then it decides based on that if it sends it back to the lower house, or we just have the executive do that.
I think executive doing that would be fair, and then I really liked what you said there. Is it reasonable to implement?
Yeah. As in,
so
you can't tell the executive to build tanks by turn 10. They just can't do it.
The word reasonable is awesome. We're trying to use it a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give the courts a job. Reasonable general. Is that still in there? Better still be. Fuck.
So what I would like. What I would like to see is a nationally elected lower chamber. They make all the laws. They do all the legislative stuff. The president appoints an upper chamber of 3 to 4, if we get to really big numbers like 5 to 7 people, that review laws for him. They review the constitutionality. They review if it adheres to legislative procedures, if it conflicts with other bills, and if it's within reason for the executive to be able to do that without just sort of burning the country or just physically being able to do that. And then they can send something back only if it doesn't satisfy one of those conditions. So then you've got something where it's not an equal branch, but it acts as sort of like a voice of reason towards legislature that is just really bad.
Hey, Retro.
Hey, I just came in. What we're talking about?
Alternatives to it.
Okay, so
you know what we should do that we really plan to do is actually work out the legislative system, at least the unicameral, so that we have a proposal.
Well, the unicameral system is.
Yeah, I see that.
Do you wanna work on that a bit?
So So what do you guys think of having the upper house, so the second chamber in this bicameral system, be purely focused on sort of more accurately reviewing a bill based on criteria that are like actually set out in the Constitution, rather
Isn't
than just saying,
Isn't that how the EU works, where there's a parliament that makes the bills and a commission that reviews the bills and actually passes them into law?
yeah, basically. But
I think that would
the
be.
EU is a really complicated example because what happens is that actually the Commission has to make laws, Parliament passes those laws, that then goes up to the Executive EU Council. But don't follow the EU system; it's so complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that.
So I would definitely like that system of bicameral more than what Masinko proposed.
Yeah,
What did he propose?
Masinko's proposal doesn't really make much sense to me on why we would do it that way. It literally just is review. But it's not an executive review. It's impartial review.
because those people, well, if under my ideal system, they'd be appointed by the monarch, so they've got the interest of the executive,
Okay.
but they're part of the legislative branch, so they're sort of responsible as legislators as well.
If they're appointed by the executive, they're gonna be like, the executive's gonna like them, and they're like.
Yeah,
But so what I would suggest is possibly just having, if we do like 3, we could have like 1 legislature, 1 executive, 1 from the judicial branch? Question mark? Possibility?
Or we could just have it state elected. So we say these 3 to 5 people come from the states. And then
Yeah, but I mean, the issue with that, at the start we're gonna have 1 state. We might get 2 after a couple sessions, 3 after a very many sessions.
Well, then just say that there should be 3 or 5, and so the first time all 3 are chosen from the capital state. So it's basically just another general election, and then.
Oh, why not?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't even frame this kind of like review thing as a second branch or a bicameral system. It doesn't really. Not even on. It's weird to say it's on the same level as the first legislature. It's just board.
That's if you're looking at it from an American point of view. If you're looking at it from a British, Dutch, European point of view, that's what a second chamber is. It's a group of people who are not elected, who just review law based on how well it's written.
Yeah, so a lot of people think of it as in an American view. Is what I'm trying to.
Which I think is one of the big problems in Democraciv.
Well, I'm just saying framing it as a bicameral is like.
It goes against American values, but I don't think it goes against bicameral values.
Because bicameral, it kind of puts them on the same footing as, like, in the name.
The Senate.
Like, cameral, or, one thing and another. By, 60%. 50.
But how do you know that people mean an American bicameral?
We don't, because these polls are kind of weak.
It's not going to go well with the American audience at all.
Look, if they see that we don't even know what they want in the second chamber. They're just saying they want a second chamber.
Yeah.
We just have to show them a text and see if they like it. That's what we have.
I think there's no point in having a second level of chamber, because then you just make Bureaucraciv, where it's just more
You're cutting out.
There's no point in having a second chamber that's on the equal level or similar level as the first chamber.
Yeah.
Because then you're just getting Bureaucraciv. You're just getting a more complicated legislature that's already famously bad at doing things.
100%, which is why if we want any level of second legislature or second house, it's probably going to be just like a basic review board.
Yeah.
Where it's impartial. Declare war?
That's no.
Why
No,
though?
no. This should be a small. This should be a very small thing, 3 to 5 people max, that just reviews bills impartially, and they say, is this reasonable to the executive? Is this reasonable to the legislature? Is this reasonable? Is this reasonably constitutional?
Wait, question.
Well, no, because they don't actually
It-
play the game.
it's
They
not-
have.
They're not playing the game, and they're not the ones being regulated. Like,
Yeah,
so the
they're
ministry
not-
might veto a bill because it's like, oh, you're taking away our fun.
It's an alternative
apparently
to
that's
the
one way to
veto.
do
It's a group of people
Yeah.
who look at constitutionality rather than does this affect my
It's just
branch
done
that I'm.
in legality. They should also
Yeah.
be able to look at it and be like, oh, well, this bill, it only got 66.6. You actually need 2/3, and that's.
Well, no. If you look
Look.
at your fundamental, the veto was meant to be the president reading the bill and to see if it was constitutional.
No, not necessarily.
Yes.
That's kind of an idealistic. That's
it
an
was jo-
idealistic look at what the veto is in Democraciv. In Democraciv, it is to an extent a political tool. It is to an extent
yeah. But
the
that's
executive
because
being able to resist unnecessary regulation.
that's because since John Quincy Adams in America, the executive.
No, it has nothing. No one looks at that as
No,
example of what we
because
do as a
that's what
veto
people
here.
are influenced from. That's what people. The biggest country
No.
in the world, the biggest democracy in the world, has a veto that is essentially a political tool.
I've never thought about how John Quincy Adams used his veto when veto.
Yeah, no. You thought about how Bush used his veto.
No, I thought about, do I like this bill or not?
Which is exactly the problem. That is how the veto has been made now in
That's
America.
how the veto has been. That's how the veto
But that's
Democraciv has been used. It's, do I like this bill? Is this bill reasonable? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which is kind of why that's why I feel trying to like copy or mimic any real life anything doesn't really work.
well, I'm advocating for the exact opposite of the real world simulation, aren't I? Because I'm saying the veto should be purely based on constitutionality and
Yeah.
applicability.
We're saying it should be.
I
The
disagree.
judicial branch. No. So the judicial branch still decides, is this bill constitutional? However, there would be an intermediary step where after it passes the Congress, it goes to this review board is what I'm just going to say. The review board would say, is this reasonable? Was it passed? Was all the stuff around it passed legally? Did it actually get 50% or whatever? Is there someone saying something like that? Of course, it can be appealed to the Supreme Court if they strike it down. Something like that's what I'm saying. And this is just, I'm not even sure if I like this idea. I'm just saying it.
Well, I'm thinking we should write it in explicitly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if we're gonna have a veto or we're gonna do a Haldier's version of a committee, then we should probably clarify it a bit, or else we're just gonna get unnecessary court cases on it.
Yeah.
They sue. It would be what they believe to be. We would just say it's whatever they believe. I
No,
think
because then you just get another council of ministers that veto things that they don't like.
Yeah, okay, so I think we need some sort of check on the legislature. I think it's ridiculous to say the legislature needs no check. I
I
think
disagree, but
why? Why do you think the legislature needs no check? Do you think they've never done anything wrong?
I think we should accept that the legislature is the best representation of the people in this case, of the people in the case, and they should have sovereignty to do whatever they please. Really.
Here's the thing: the legislator did shit. Yeah, here's the thing: the legislator did nothing involving the game, and at points it was legit the ministry playing the game, and once in a while,
I think honestly the parties are the best representatives of the people.
yeah.
Because you pick a party and that's what you just play with it, because that's how the game works. In our culture, you pick a party that's basically unless you're independent or you're in some little party, but those are fringe cases, in my opinion. You don't vote for your legislature. You literally vote for your party. Legislators themselves, they're not the most democratically elected people. It's literally the ministers are, at least looking at a Mark IV standpoint.
Yeah.
I disagree.
No, the singular legislators themselves. If you're on the Dow ticket and you're voted in for the second spot, no one specifically voted for you. Obviously, intention-wise, they may have voted for the ticket because of you. They did not specifically vote for you. They voted for the party and the party's views. If you're a minister, you run, and your name is on the ballot. They're voting for you. They may be voting for you because your party has views. And
well, then that's a problem in the voting system, not a problem with the legislators.
I'm saying that because we're probably going to continue that system, and
well, no, because there's a very easy fix for that, Wes. But Wes, there's a very easy fix for that. What you do instead, what you get to do is you get to vote for a ticket, but then you also get to give your preference for that ticket. So, for instance, if the person third on the ticket gets enough preference for that ticket, they get moved up to first.
A system like that would be the Mark III system, where you voted for every individual legislator, and they had a party associated with them. The party would get, let's say, 20 votes, and with their 4 legislators, one of them gets 7, so they get the first seat. The other one gets 6. I mean, it's like 4 and 2 or something.
No, it's more that you vote for a ticket. So you go onto the ticket, and
that would be I mean, I'm just saying that system worked relatively well, and would be a way to do that kind of thing. So then the amount of votes the candidate gets would determine. My issue with that is that it requires states and cities to be like there first. I mean, like, I think relying on like state governments themselves, we shouldn't do that in any regard at all. Zero zip, nada. Don't.
Because state governments
have influence on any important institution. Yeah, I'll be on the ballot for senator in Florida. I dislike states having their own like the state's representative is the governor. That's what they're voting on. The system we've used to elect legislators in the past is good in my opinion, because just the basic pick a party in a list, or even the pick a candidate and the party gets the vote, and that thing, Mark III. Any of those are perfectly serviceable. We don't need to have states mixed in with electing legislators themselves. None of that. I mean, maybe they can have like the state adds 1 rep or something. Yeah, the states themselves don't. The states.
When you have a minute,
The states don't need to necessarily have their own representatives in the legislature.
When you have a minute, Espresso,
people-
I've got a question, but I'll let you carry on.
People from states would have, maybe they rally behind a certain local legislator or something, and that would possibly happen. But they don't need like a specific legislator in the legislature. I mean, I don't know. How doesn't your system have some, they elect a thing? I don't know.
Wait, is that me?
Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to. Sorry, I'm taking it back to something else. You mentioned you didn't want a sort of an upper chamber that did review based on constitutionality, amongst other things, because you felt that was what was your reasons for that? And
I definitely agree. I think
do you,
I kind of.
Wes, can I?
Yeah.
That's why I think they should be appointed by the executive rather than elected. So it's
So how
not.
do you or don't you like the executive veto? Because
It's
I have
sounding a lot like a veto without.
I have a complicated
Just-
relationship.
it seems like you like the executive veto. Petitions are worthless. Totally.
Right. So, since Retro and RB,
I mean, honestly, put that in there as a token effort because I don't think it'll be used. But
since Retro and RB are here, I'm gonna head off. So we've now got
Alright.
some more defenders for bicameral because
hey,
I didn't want you guys let you guys walk all over it.
hey,
Um,
RB, do you like
So we
bicameral?
go.
RB, are you here?
Yeah, he is.
I mean, he's here, but is he here? Retro, do you like bicameral?
I mean, my system was basically the governors make up the what's it called, the second house, the upper house, and he sort of act like a gimp ministry, or
I just want to say the whole review board thing was made up on the spot. It's a nice idea. It needs more fleshing out though, and
Yeah.
I don't think we
I
should
mean, the review
include
board
it
might
in
be
any
nice.
working draft. We don't
But
need to put it in the working draft at this point. I think we should work on just a basic unicameral system to have as a proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
Yeah.
I don't think they necessarily understand the full thing because we're doing this to get drafts done, and then we're gonna have a lot more votes later on. Oh, I'm sorry for hating on your legislators from states earlier. I forgot that's how you did it, and I like that because it kind of does. It gets the best of both worlds because you get local representatives, but it's also population. Yeah.
Yeah, House of Representatives. Yeah.
Can you repeat that one more time? Can you repeat that one more time? Yeah, I would prefer just having a basic vice president as like proxy and stuff.
Well, you just say proxy.
Yeah. Hmm. Good.
I mean, states could
You
easily
can
be
ban.
gerrymandered.
We'll be able to ban gerrymandering, but then still have gerrymandering happen and never actually address it.
Yeah.
That's why we have these meetings. Yeah.
Well, you could just ask an emergency amendment removing states from the entire
It would pretty much
Constitution.
be a basic amendment where it's like, okay, instead of having all of these state citizenship based stuff, I think one thing we have to do is have a efficient. Well, I guess actually, never mind. So I have one question for you. When determining how many legislators a state will have, is that done like on voting day? So if let's say last election 40 people voted in the capital city, so they got 8 electors or 8 representatives. If this election comes around, will they have 8 seats to fill, or if only 20 people vote, they only get they're 5? Yeah. So my big issue with that is if a city goes from 10 to 4 now, or if a lot of people go inactive in a city, then we won't know that a week before election. We'll only know that on the election day. So I think it should definitely be election day is when how many seats will be.
Yeah.
Well, it would still be the week before
Yeah.
when you stop being able to move, but it's calculated on the day of the election because otherwise. I'm fine with that not being known. I'm fine with that not being known. Yeah, because otherwise you're having not filled seats in states, unproportional. It would not be very. I would rather have carpetbagging. Or, Can you repeat that one more time?
Well, you could just ban legislators from moving from cities once they get elected or something like that.
Just say legislators are not going to move or something. Or yeah. So I think one thing that should be noted is that we shouldn't be trying to use citizenship to like influence other things outside of just the election, because people will be able to move rapidly as many times as they want, ideally, outside of the week before the election. So if we try and use it to like do taxes, if we bring back an economy thing, it's not going to work. We just need to be noticing of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Or you could have a state entirely dedicated to like one or two parties that are allied with each other. You have that.
Yeah, I mean,
No, I mean like parties allied with each other just form their own state to get more representation.
but the thing is, the only time a well, so what you would want to do is go to a state where there's like independence, really, because if you can put 4 people in a state and have 1 independent vote for you there, well, then you just increased your efficiency, because now you got a seat for 4 people instead of the 5 you would have to spend, something like that. You know what I mean? Or you can just pick like one big state and everyone moves there, and then you always have all. Because then, if you have like 3 off in this city and you don't get the other 2, then no one will vote. Yeah, I'm gonna be right back. Goodbye for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Oh. So I don't know. For my idea for upper house, it would have been the governors running the upper house with as a gimped ministry. Yeah. So the idea was that the governors, hey, they have control of production, but they also have to they sort of act like the middleman between the ministry, the president, and the lower house. So they can make bills, yeah, but they also approve bills that are coming from the legislator, sort of like how it works in the United States. Or you could just do like each state has 1 or 2 representatives separate from the governor to represent them in the Senate. That was my idea. Yeah. Yeah. Hang on, let me just. There we go. Also, I was thinking, giving the upper house, like, if they want to overturn a veto, you only need 50% of the upper house rather than 2/3 of the lower house, since they were governors.
What?
Sorry, I was thinking of what if governors were the upper house.
I mean, we kind of discussed that earlier in Masinka's draft. And
Oh,
it's basically just another ministry veto.
true. I mean, now, like, my idea was that, hey, because the governors are technically part of the executive branch, they only need a majority to overturn a veto rather than 2/3 in the legislature, the lower house. So, there's that. So, the president is not involved at all with the laws.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, you need to add that to the composition. Oh, yeah, I see, sorry. Yeah.
Feeling like 5%.
Okay. Hmm. Same. Yeah. I think the petition system should be a law rather than in the Constitution, but whatever.
I yeah, who's going? So wait, in your system, it's just the people who vote. If you like, people in a city vote which state they want to be in if they want to change. I think I'm fine with that, honestly. I
Yeah.
think giving it to either governors or the legislator is like. Well, I think if cities are small enough, because correct me if I'm wrong. You live in a city, and the city's in a state, right? Yeah. So if the city is, I don't think cities are ever going to reach much beyond 20 people apiece. And I mean, that can just be setting the poll. Yeah. So maybe if you just had like the governor, he can start a poll whenever. Something like that, maybe. Because then it can be like an election issue. It can be like, I want to move from the state of Sarah to the state of Sirocco. I don't think we should count on any one state having a state government. Yeah, exactly. It should be totally in the hands of the. But what about forming? What about forming new states? Because like, should we just let every city form its own state? Actually, now that I think about it, I'm stupid. If we let the state governor do it, then the other cities in the state would have a say in it. I feel like saying succeed doesn't feels more aggressive than it is. Yeah, I think everyone, or at least Americans, straight think Civil War.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you want to secede from the Union, which you don't have.
But you can't break yourself up into 5 states. If you want to.
Or Northern California really wants to join Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I also don't want to make it too hard. If it's too hard, then people will never try and do it.
I actually am thinking about what if for legislators have the problem of them getting elected then instantly changing their representation to another state? What if the only thing they can do to move states is during an election when they decide, hey, I want to move to this state, let me run to get a seat in that state? Well, the thing is, like, what if a legislator actually wants to move states, but they represent one state? So are they for? Well, that. Yeah, no. True, true. Next. Yeah.
You'd have to take a break or go to some federal level.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, so.
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear what you said. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly speaking, is it like horrendous if a legislator moves states midterm? Fuck. Yeah. Yeah. Eh, You get what you get what you elect pretty much.
Yeah.
And I mean, if people from Oregon probably are less likely to vote for you if they just saw you switch from California.
I mean, they might actually. Yeah, that's an issue for the courts. Also, are we going to define executive veto or no? Oh wait, you just removed that. Alright. But
56% that don't know what the bicameral system will look like. Again, I haven't really been like taking the polls to heart. Like some of them, like if it's 60% or like 80% maybe, but I mean,
mm,
it,
if it's
it's
unicameral,
hard.
then we have veto.
It's hard to
but-
vote on the concept of one or the other because they both have different merits.
Yeah.
We kind of need to discuss.
Also, what we're thinking about second round for civ vote, how's that looking like?
Be careful with how you word the options because if you're just like bicameral governors, bicameral, like you have to just put the links and have them read it. Just have them read it. Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, don't be like, you approve of this bicameral model governor, here's the text. Because they might just, there's a good chance they say, oh, bicameral, that looks cool. They don't even read it. But- I don't know about that. It's not too long to read. I mean, We'll hide it deep in the poll, so they're already time invested.
Like,
I'm not kidding. I'm literally not kidding. Just hide it deep in the poll, and they'll do. Well, there'll be like this one, I guess.
yeah. I mean, that happened. Yeah.
But
Hmm. All right, that could work. Also, how are we looking at in the second round for the SIP vote? That's a drop off. Oh, how concerning.
I think moderation might.
Oh boy. Oh, so is is the controversial Civ the one's gonna win or no? Or is,
Is Norway a front runner?
The result will be
Well, it's just lowest guy goes first, and then they get
Yeah.
distributed. Oh,
oh,
well, how many votes? That's weird. How many people have voted? How many people have voted? Can you tell me how many there are now? 51. Okay. Just wanted to make sure it was good. How many do we have in the first one total? I think it was like 70 something. Okay. I'm happy with. How much longer is it going to be open? Okay.
all right.
You're gonna do a round 3. We're gonna make you do a round 3.
Oh. Oh.
That's ridiculous. We did not have a clear preference. We had a 26% majority espresso.
Oh no.
26. I disagree with your tiebreaker. It should be a good old coin flip. I want to. Oh no! Each one of them is assigned one Super Bowl team. The
It's
LA
Patriots and Rams.
and the Patriots. Yeah, I like that. When is the Super
In,
Bowl?
in case of a tie. Oh.
Okay. No. So for every tie, hear me out. So for every tie, we take one random first choice voter. So if you voted for your first choice, you might get selected. They pick a Super Bowl team, right? And then but we logic tree this out, right? So if it's like, okay, so if Spain and Germany are tied,
Yeah.
and Germany, so we pick, let's say, retro and RB. Retros for Germany, RBs for Spain. So RB picks the Rams, right? If the Rams win, we go with Spain. If Spain is in, let's say, tied with Norway in a later round, we pick another person for Spain and another person for Norway. And then we have to do that before the game comes out, though.
Yeah.
So then we
The
would
game's
have a
at
nice
6:30.
big tree
Yeah.
No, not at all. When's the Super Bowl?
In 2 hours.
What the fuck?
It's not in the West Coast this year, Wes.
I didn't know it was today. I thought it was like in a
It's-
week.
No, it's today at Atlanta, and they're gonna play Sweet Victory in the halftime show.
Ooh, Atlanta.
Yeah.
Stadium in Atlanta. It's nice.
Mm.
I went like when it was brand new. For the SEC champion. Where the Gators got their ass beat, but it was to Alabama. So I can't really complain.
Yeah.
I have a nice shirt from there.
That's good.
I digress.
Hey, at least you got a shirt out of it. Patriots won every single Super Bowl they've been in, pretty much since they had Tom Brady. That's why everyone's rooting for the Rams so they could kick Tom Brady in the face.
No, they've lost. They lost to Denver and last year.
Oh wait, the Patriots lost last year? I forgot.
Yeah, the Eagles won.
Wait, I thought.
And they lost to the Seahawks, let's see, they played Seahawks twice, won once. They played Denver. I think they played Denver once at least. I know Peyton Manning won. They played
Oh yeah, that's
Cam
right.
Newton and the Panthers. They've played Eagles. They lost to Eagles. I think it's the last Super Bowls. Last in Super.
Oh yeah, the Eagles beat the Patriots last year. I know in 2017 the Falcons were about to beat the Patriots.
So it was
but
Eagles, and then so Patriots beat the shit out of the Falcons.
Yeah, like last minute.
50 was Broncos and Panthers. I thought it was just Panthers and
Oh.
Patriots.
Yeah, sorry. Oh.
Sorry. Well, I think the unicameral in your working draft is fine. Like, it's just a basic unicameral.
Yeah.
Well, tried and true. For the bicameral, the only full text proposal we have right now is Masinko's, but I don't. Oh, I'm not sure. I just see that. Yeah, I don't understand. No, I don't see it. Are we in the same? I'm looking at working draft, veto, state reps, unicameral speaker. Oh, can you just lengthen the link whichever one I'm looking. Oh, okay, there it is. There it is. But, I does it say how that's elected? Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So I would say put in Masinko's governor one. That one looks fine to me, and then the basic. Oh well. No, I thought you meant. Are you just asking what should be on the working draft? The one that's on there is fine. I was just thinking putting. I was thinking poll. Thinking-
Other.
I would just. I would leave it. I'm just saying have both. Have both for now, because I mean it's a working draft.
Yeah.
What you might want to go through. We don't have to do this now. Just like highlight key points and stuff so people can read it without going through all the legalese there. So just highlight like how it goes down to 1/7, what exactly the Senate does. I can. Okay. So just going through it. I mean, are we good on the executive? Are we happy with what we have there right now? Do we have all the groundwork down so that I think just putting a simple vice president, it's a proxy, takes over if yeah. I, I'm opposed to that because I think people yeah. I mean if we put it in here and people don't like it, they'll say it and they'll vote for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we have dual mandate? It says peaceable assembly. Peaceful. Down in the Bill of Rights. Yeah. Pilot. I'm just looking at what we can cut out of this because, like, a lot of it is nice to have, and I think it could be. Yeah. I don't really like. I don't like two. Two seems kind of weird and vague. I can try. I, I I really like the look of this one more than Mark IV, just because it's so much more meaty. So much more to it.
Yeah.
That just seems weird and unnecessary. Yeah. And I mean, if they're from Idaho, not that anyone is, but if they claim to be. No, I think it's fine. Residence doesn't mean citizen. Residence isn't citizenship. What do you mean? Well, I think it's fine. I mean, freedom of movement is moving from state to state. Residence is staying in a state, right? Technically. Yeah. But you're not allowed to leave the country. You don't have that right. We'll ban immigration. Well, no, if we allow that though, then people could someone could say they're not allowed to vote in any state thing, so then on a ballot, what would they do? No one shall be held guilty of any penal offense on account of any act or omission which did not constitute a penal offense under national or international law at the time which was. Can we just say that? Can we just say no? Well, first of all, under national law, be said. Yeah.
Yay! Well, working on Mark 4, so
That's because no one. We had a minimum fever in Mark II because 4 people made the Constitution, and we were paying 5 people. My bad. My bad. No, dude. I always forgot about him, and then someone corrected me and be like, "Oh yeah, that guy." Um. um oof. I think he was less vocal too, but that might have just been it. I don't know. It sucks.
it links to the Mark 4. Oh crap! Sorry, that links to the Mark 4 amendments. We should probably fix that. All right. Mm-hmm. Pretty good.
I'm pretty good with it. Yeah. I want to trim this one right, or even just leave it out. Yeah.
Well, it
Yeah.
was
I'm pretty
just
sure
me.
someone
No, it
copy
was
pasted like EU Bill of Rights or some shit.
no.
Here.
Me and Arch straight up just copy. My God. Hang on. I think I could reword this. No one shall be retroactively affected by any government action that would have prevented. Damn it. Legislation and/or constitution amendment. Okay.
I feel like this
Like-
discriminatory towards retro though.
Oh. Retroactively. Well, is there any other word that we can...
Well. Then you could be like the executive. Well, A, you could sue the entire executive, but B, you could be like, you're not allowed to settle a city without legislative approval. So now all the cities settled without legislative approval we have to roll back and not settle or something like.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, this also clarifies constitutional amendments. Like, if someone changes the Constitution, you can't apply that retroactively.
What do you mean? Mm-hmm. Article 6, Section 2. This is only law. Oh, wait. Oh, I see what you mean. I don't know. Just leave it. The courts will decide.
Court case.
Did you guys end up deciding about the legislature stuff?
No, we just put two systems in this Constitution and let the people decide. Also, for the second round civ vote, what's it called? A very controversial civ may or may not win it.
Germany?
Better be Germany.
Probably Germany.
Yeah.
Not gonna say it. Anyway.
You don't know that. They could both win.
Just leave it unnamed. I will retcon that I just said Germany.
Technically, if
I have no
Russia
idea what it
won,
might be.
Russia at one point owned half of Germany.
That's
Think
true.
about it. Think about it.
That's true.
Spain once controlled the Holy Roman Empire. Spain once controlled the Holy Roman Empire.
Oh.
We should just play America.
What are the other nations?
Maui.
Russia,
No, not
Spain,
Maui. More,
Dude, no one cared if you campaigned. No one would care. Mm-hmm.
Also, since DNN hasn't published it, do you check the meme that we want to publish? And
Oh. Tell
At
me,
the
tell me,
end.
please.
it's a meme. Yeah, check newspaper.
Where?
Yeah, Oh, you can't read.
By the way, I really love Dom's massive thesis on how if you take voters who voted near something and you eliminate them, Norway still wins that thing.
Yeah. It's this one.
Oof.
Damn it. Which is the only.
What other messages do you have with Retro? Have you been collaborating for a monarchy?
Well, it's okay to publish. Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, back to the Constitution. Okay, after that, yeah. Nah.
Let's call it dual mandate and proxies. Easy.
Sure. Yeah. Mm. Such is life. Mm. There we go. Just doing some formatting stuff. System. Yeah. If we are doing, yeah. If we are
Honestly,
going
what's
to,
like what's controversial about us vice president? I don't. I think it. I well,
or just
it's
make them the
duty.
speaker.
I mean,
The
the
vice
duty is
president in my
it's the
draft,
proxy. I
and in
think
my
it
draft
being a
breaks
proxy is good.
ties too in the Congress and the Senate.
That's true because you can't have even people in your Congress, Mr. Coffee, Mrs. Coffee. Sorry. Well, then the speaker gets 2 votes. That's
Yeah.
no fair. The speaker doesn't get 2 votes. That's ridiculous. No, the speaker doesn't get 2 votes. That's ridiculous. You get 1 vote. That's democracy. Exactly, man.
All you need
I
to do.
want to make a
As long
political
as-
deal where I get to be vice president, sit back and do nothing but criticize people. Yeah, man. You had a
The
tough
reason-
run in the ministry.
The reason I like the vice president, and this could fully well be the speaker as well, technically, but I just want someone who joins the president in the streams, who's just sort of entrenched in what's happening with the legislature, so that they can convey to the president kind of certain
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that the president may have missed just from looking over the bills.
as much as I dislike real world analogies, the vice president in America, for example, they do a bunch of crap in the Senate because they're tiebreaker and stuff. Something like that could be good, where they're just like they're the middleman kind of. They break the tie and they also tell the president stuff.
Initial proposal that was sort of crapped on by several people was that the just like in the U.S., the vice president would be the sort of speaker of the Senate.
I don't like it being
Yeah.
a speaker because like that's a lot.
Well, not the speaker, but pseudo speaker, not necessarily like. Exactly.
I wonder what the Vegas odds.
Funny thing though is the reasons I've like sort of things is not in any way inspired by America. It's more inspired by like what I think the community, like what the best structure is, what makes the most sense, and it just sort of fits into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have a
And the Articles of
healthy,
Confederation, which
we have a
failed.
healthy blend going on here where we have experience from doing this 3 times already.
We don't
Okay.
count.
Everyone has experience for 3 times. 2 people, no, sorry, 1. I think you're the only one left after Charlie left. I'm not kidding.
Wait, Charlie
Who
was in
else
Mark
is from
1?
Yeah, Charlie was in Mark 1. Who else was in
Oh.
Mark 1? Who's still here?
Fair.
I don't know if Bear was.
Bear was
I know
2.
Bear was Mark. He's definitely Mark 2. I'm pretty sure you're the only Mark 1 person left. Because who else? Powell might have.
Oh
Except
no.
no one cares about your revisionist history. Because Mark 1 was a failure. Oh, really?
Well, there's Towel, but he only shows up every 5 months or something like that.
He comes out 5 months to play Secret Hitler.
I thought it was only 1.
I'm kind of surprised. If looking back at it, it seems like we've been pretty successful, but arguably 50% win rate or success rate and win rate, but 50% success rate in a mark. Exactly. And so is Mark 3. What got you so involved in Mark 1? Why were you big in Mark 1? I can definitely imagine that happening, just because it seemed like it was like some dude made a Reddit post and then it turned into a thing real fast.
Oh boy.
Oof. I think our elections have been pretty good, right? We've never had. Oh my.
What?
The fuck did you get that from? Oh. That's not a good indicator. Yeah. Is that why you're so obsessed with the voter registry? You have flashbacks. No.
Are we gonna? Do you have any ideas of how to calculate the population for this coming mark? Just because we have this sort of complex reasons elements.
Would it have like
So the economy had that and it was a bitch, did it?
Well, the economy was a little bit more, had a lot more stuff to it. Did we ever talk about how we wanted states to be formed? Legislative, or do we want that to be petition? I'm trying to think of a way that we could somehow do a little bit of both. Hard though. That's potentially good. I just think that the the main reason I'd ever want the legislature to be able to control it is just simply because they're able to more efficiently. And like if the population suddenly drops enormously, they can dissolve some of the states. Becomes a big issue, and they could do that quickly without needing people to through the petition process. But obviously, we want to have the petition process for people because we want the people to be able to determine, how many states they want and who goes where. Yeah. And any system that relies on the people themselves to do the work without being elected is always a little iffy. My experiences from trying to create an economy, you know, Mark III systems, whatnot.
Yeah, but I'm trying to find my name on it. Oh.
Oh. DTG. He was a late one. Oh, Pangolin. Pangolin. There's Masinko.
Yeah, I'm right there. Yeah.
Reagan. J. Hilden 13. Darth Spectrum. Phonix. Kingster. Orange. I feel like we might have had some voter fraud. Here's Alex Man 423, Alex Man 713. Oh yeah, totally.
Yes.
The mock for life. What happened to
I
art?
submitted a court case against you. Oh. It worked just fine for me.
Sirocco. There's God, how many people have never seen before?
Stolen lunch money and heresy are things.
Say.
Hearsay.
Oh, though heresy should be on it.
Yes, it.
You cut my name out. Yeah, my name's not here. No, I was early. DTG here. No, there's no way DTG is here and I'm not. Because DTG was definitely late. In Mark II? No. I did leave once. I don't think he unregistered. Whoa, you have Babylon, but you don't have Baby Leningrad in these cities. Come on. You cannot do that.
Anyway, I'm just a little. I'm kind of concerned about like just putting too much on the citizens, the residents. It looks okay. It looks okay. It doesn't seem that crazy.
I mean,
You
it's
might
just kind
wanna.
of like a
You might
way to
wanna.
do things.
I don't know if it's possible, but maybe categorizing the topics a little bit more. I don't know. Just list of things. You could do like a government. You can do a government section where you have like submit legislation, submit a court case. Probably be its separate thing. Yeah, I mean this could be tweaked a lot. I'm not super
Yeah.
worried about it.
Mm.
Another thing I'm a little worried about is maybe people. I mean, I don't want to do little credit, but people coming to the ballots and not knowing what city they're part of. You put in your PIN, it'll tell you which one you're in. We'll just have a list of cities and people living.
You could have a separate thing where it's just a sheet and it's like name where you're at, what city
Yeah.
you're in. Like that
That's
can
what
be
I mean.
public
It's like
that's
people
fine with being public information.
making sure that people come to the ballots. Okay. No, I mean
Yeah.
I don't know how a lot of this works. I just well, just as long as people have some sort of reference that they know which city they're part of for whatever reason if they forgot or is there going to be a way to calculate inactive versus active voters? Distinction. It's good to me.
Yeah.
I mean, all that I still have.
Mhm. Hmm.
You're gonna eventually include like register yourself in this form, or are you gonna maybe put a little link under the title? Right.
Hmm.
That all seems really good. It's kind of awkward if I remember. It was like your party leader had to in and
I mean, if moderation forces the use of the form, then I think it would work. Yeah. Hmm.
We're gonna do polling now, yeah?
Well, you need at least 5 days to run a government election, so.
Are we closing up here?
Yeah.
I'm gonna head off.
Alright, see you,
Need
Wes.
to-
See ya.
I think soon we need to start form on the main server, honestly. That the parties I think that the parties need to be allowed to form on the main server pretty soon if we're gonna start doing ad blitzes and stuff.
Also, I think moderation plan is once the constitution's ratified, then that's when they're going to allow parties into the main server. But before then, they're not allowing it. I think that was the stance of Charizard. Yeah.
I agree. I think maybe there are concerns about parties influencing how the Constitution is written, which is not a good thing. But honestly, I don't. I mean, we had back in Mark III, even in Mark II. Well, not Mark II because you guys wrote the Constitution. But and Mark IV, we had parties well before the Constitution was even finished. Right. But but yeah, I think parties need to be allowed to start forming in an official capacity. It's just really absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Restart. Okay.
I'll petition to mods to see if I can sway them. Yeah. So, I'd love it if I could help out with like polling questions and stuff. If you need my help, I'm here, and I'm sure all the other people are as well. Okay. It didn't work for me, but I can request added access. I think it might be because I'm on a specific email, so I'll send you a request right now. Perfect. I'm in.
I think we're adjourned. I'm just setting up the petition to get the mods to recognize parties after the second vote has been released. All right.
Awesome.
Mm.
A little issues in DNN, I think, because the editor-in-chief and Sean Box have been a little inactive lately, so
Yeah.
we're sort of sitting on our asses a little bit sometimes.
True.
we need to have maybe a rotating.
5 EST. Hmm. Yeah. All right. See ya.